Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Board Gaming Doctor. My name is Phil, and I'll be your Board Game Doctor today. In this episode for the Rosenblog for this month, I figured I would go ahead and analyze the rulebook that was dropped for Black Forest. Now, this is the upcoming game for Uwe Rosenberg, as well as Tito Lorenz, that is slated to release later this year during Eschen Spiel. And a few days after I had posted my video on the Board Game Geek page and image analysis of the back cover and anything that was available there. Of course, within a couple of days they dropped the actual rulebook. So, in this episode, I wanted to finally go ahead and read through the rulebook. I've already done that, and kind of highlight some of the game highlights that I think are going to be features that make this game either stand out in comparison to Glass Road or make it feel the same. I'm not going to go through every single rule and highlight every single point like you would see in a how to play video. This is just going to be the high-level stuff that I think make this game stand out. First thing I want to point out are in the components in the setup portion of this rulebook. From my previous video, I was concerned that the buildings would be static each time you set up the game, similar to Caverna. Now we know that each building is assigned a number, according to where it's placed on the board, but that each small building has two sides to it. You place all the buildings on its A side and then randomly flip over 10 of them to their B side. So each game could feel different based on what buildings are available, and it's also possible to map out your whole game to a degree, strategically, based on what buildings you have available from the beginning. After looking at the appendix as well, it seems like each side to the building seem variable enough that each side has a different cost and different functions to bring to the table. They aren't wholly similar one from another, and so the randomness that you're getting from flipping these buildings is great, I think, and I like this. Also of note that the large buildings, which are the ones that take up 2 slots on your Tableau, only have one side. But as in Fields of Arla, there are a number of backup buildings that you randomly choose from at the beginning of the game. So there's a little bit of variety from game to game with these, akin to the variability with certain colored buildings from Fields of Arla. In addition, the worker placement spots are mediated by tradespeople tiles. These take the place of the action cards in Glass Road. Each trade person or worker placement tile is separated into 5 different clans or families, and you randomize where they are placed, but a family tile must be placed on a printed space on the board. So the randomness of where you can move your worker was correct based off of the image on the back of the box. Next, the resource wheels function very similarly to Glass Road. Any zero space in basic goods section is automatically filled by turning the dial and creating upgraded goods. It's non-negotiable in this game. One thing that is different are the provisions that are located on the upgraded goods side on the cooking wheel. They are bunched together, and there are 2 of these markers in that section, so it feels very similar to the Fields of Arla food tokens, where you're keeping track of both food on the same overall track, and you can kind of split the difference if you need to among those. I can maybe see the wheel being hard to balance, not only to use those provisions to move around, but also potentially getting that dial stuck, so you can't produce more of the upgraded good of commodity, which is located there too. More on that a little bit later. Also related to the resource wheel are jobs. These tokens are shuffled and revealed as soon as you move your resource dial over 2 spaces on that cooking wheel. These are extra resource conversion opportunities that you place based on placement rules in different spots on the board, whether it's in a village or in a specific spot on the board that you can move to take advantage of during your turn. They're kind of like a mix between the one-time effect and production buildings from Glass Road, and this new mechanism and new opportunity to do resource conversion feels very unique to this game. Next, let's talk about what you can do on your turn. You must move, and you can choose to move to another location that is open in the village that you're currently in, or you can move to another village by paying the provisions to do so, as we had predicted based off of the image. If the final destination is occupied by other players, you must give them a basic good of your choosing. You can take 1 or 2 of the actions depicted by the tradespeople worker placement tiles that are adjacent to your pawn, or you can complete a job if it's there, one or the other. If you can't move, you must beg, and it's not like begging in Agricola. You place your pawn in the middle of the village and gain 1 provision, but that's your whole turn. A new mechanism is that you can switch around the tradespeople tiles, which is very interesting. Not only are the tradespeople worker placement actions randomized at the beginning of the game, but they can be changed from within the game to different spots. So back to that commodity upgraded good, if you spend one of those, you can switch the place of a tradesperson with the traveling merchant. And this traveling merchant resembles the supplier from Glass Road, where you can choose 2 of one basic good to gain, and then everyone else gains 1 of that good. The rules for building out your own Tableau are very similar to Glass Road. The same rules apply to building buildings. The way that they work are very similar as well, so I won't go into much detail here. However, 2 new things are added to this game. You can keep livestock as designated by stables on your board, and different buildings can interact with them. Also, on your board, you have a glass hut. When you take certain actions or buy things, you can progress up the left-handed track that is on this piece. And once you get to the top and progress further, you relocate it, adding a second board adjacent to your Tableau called a small estate, and you place your hut there. This essentially opens up space for more stables, as well as opportunities to build your own Tableau even further. It's very similar to the mechanisms that you see in Ora et Labora, where you are expanding your Tableau in one direction in this Black Forest game, but in multiple directions with Ora et Labora. So it's really cool to see this come back. There are 12 small estate tiles in the game, so technically I think you can keep adding to your estate if you progress far enough on the hut track multiple times. Instead of the game having predetermined rounds, the game end is triggered when someone has 1 or more provision good tokens cross a certain spot on their cooking dial. It's located about 3/4 of the way through completing the entire circular path of the wheel, so I guess this is the mark of why this game takes 1 to 2 hours to play. You score points in the same way as Glass Road for the most part, in addition to the livestock that you've accumulated, and where your short dial is pointing on the cooking wheel, so you can get some points for that too. And I won't get into the solo game very much, but it looks like you play the game pretty much in the same way, but you place 5 workers back to back and play over 5 rounds to try to beat your own score. So more on that in a future video. But overall, I really like what this game has to offer. It gives us the foundation that Glass Road set, and the mechanisms, the resource wheel, the Tableau building, the building tiles, but tweaks it in a way that still offers some interaction between players that is very familiar in the form of worker placement, which many games have. But there's a lot of positive interaction where resources are given and gained simultaneously in a similar fashion to Glass Road. Albeit you don't have the same mind game interactions that you have with action cards, but that's what makes Black Forest different. The competition for buildings remain, and this time it feels, I think, even more competitive since the buildings don't refresh during the game, so what you see is what you're given, and so there may be a little bit more of a fight for some of the better buildings in the game. I'm a little concerned that it will take longer to play. I think based off of the time listed on the box, it's definitely meant to be played at a longer time frame than Glass Road, but I think it's a minor setback. If the game is fun, then it's going to be just totally fine. And so I'm really looking forward to playing this game once it comes out later this year. So that's my overview and analysis of the rulebook. Let me know if I got anything wrong or if you found anything additional that you want to mention, and do so in the comments below. Thank you for listening or viewing, and hope you schedule an appointment with us real soon. Take care.